Hi there YouTube, it's Emma from Emma's Bookish Lifestyle, and today is my summer book haul part 2. I have a small confession to make. There will be a very small part 3, but having a look through and starting to work through my Goodreads pile, I've realised there's quite a lot of books on my channel and on my Goodreads specifically to read. So I need to start tugging away at that. I know I'd initially decided to do the book slam that Janet from Swelly Girly Reads mentioned, but that kind of got abandoned very early on this year. Despite all best endeavours, there was just too many great charity books and books in the bookshop coming out that I couldn't resist, and that's very bad. But Confessions of a Bookaholic, as you all know, it's easily done. So some of these books that I'm going to show you today have been seen on other channels. Some of them will be I think possibly new to you, but they're all purchased by myself. None of them have been given to me by the publishers. So without any ado, let's I think I meant to say without any further ado, let's get on with it. I would like to also say, for those people on weather watch overseas, the UK is still quite warm today. However, the humidity has dropped somewhat as with the temperature. There's a little bit of a breeze and it's a bit overcast here tonight, so not as much glare on the old spectacles as there was in my last video. So the first book I've got to show you is Naomi Alderman's The Power. Now, this has been shown on quite a few people's channels. It's been knocking around BookTube quite profusely. Sorry, try and pull it back a bit so you can see it. And the reason why I just had to get this was this is obviously a dystopian book, but also a dystopian book based around the fact that women are in power, basically, and they can inflict pain and death to men, and obviously how men are coping with their loss of control. So there's something quite interesting about this particular dystopian novel. It could either be really, really good or really, really bad. I've not heard any negative comments on it, so I'm looking forward to giving that a read. The next book I've got is a vintage produced book, Brave New World, by Aldous Huxley. Aldous Huxley. And again, another dystopian praised by Margaret Atwood. So after my love of A Handmaid's Tale, I just had to expand on that. And as you well know, I'm a big lover of dystopian anyway. I've still got my dystopian box to work my way through from Mr. B's Emporium. But I believe this is in regard to an ideal society with genetic engineering, brainwashing, there's recreational sex and drugs, and its members are basically being handled as consumers in that world. So yeah, this is also, I believe, going to look at the sort of the last of the remaining savage reservations. So reservations that aren't obviously being able to utilise some of the futuristic perks. So again, another one I'm really keen to get into. One that I've seen loads and loads of publicity for and has been on my radar for quite some time, and I just can't not get it now. It keeps appearing in bookshops. Within my eye level. It's the first book that catches my eye every time I walk into one. Haven't managed to find one through the charity shops, and it's based around World War II, which is a subject that I greatly read, both from a fictional standpoint and also from a non-fictional standpoint. I believe with modern day society, looking back at World War II and its terrible atrocities, just grounds me somewhat to a hope for a better future and not regressing to the level that we did back in the times of World War II and obviously Hitler. So this is A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl, and it was the bird every single time. I don't know what it is with me and birds, but it was the bird that caught my eye initially, and kept drawing me in, and then I saw everything around it, and then I saw the title of the book, and then I saw the title of the author of the book, and being that I've just read The Tobacconist, and one of the characters in there was Frankl, and I thoroughly enjoyed that character and was thoroughly drawn in by it. And bearing in mind this is also I believe a non-fiction book based around his time during the Holocaust, I couldn't say no. It's a book that needs to be read, I believe. So I will be adding that to my reread of Anne Frank's diary, which I tend to try and read every year. The next one I've got was thanks to Beardy David, and he mentioned Tom Mitchell's The Penguin Lessons. I do love a good sort of story with a link between human life and animal life. I think you'll remember earlier on in the year I mentioned a book about the Big Cat Man from the guy from Big Cat Diaries. I've also read biographies about the Daphne Sheldrake, and I've also read the book in regard to the film with the gorillas, and I'm interested in reading some more, definitely, of people that have worked with wildlife, real wildlife and animals, and their interactions and behaviours, and this looked like it was great fun. So I have recommended some books to Beardy David. I don't know if they're of any interest to him, but this was of interest to me, so thank you very much. The next book I believe may have been on Mercy's Bookish Musings. In fact, I'm 100% sure it was Mercy's Bookish Musings, and that is The Clocks in This House All Tell Different Times by Zan Brooks. Now this is the synopsis based around a kind of a Wizard of Oz situation. So I think it's post the Great War, so post World War One, and it's just got a lot of war heroes and twisted encounters and monsters and aristocrats and dark humour, and it just seems like something that would be right up my street, and obviously with connections into A Wizard of Oz, so who couldn't love it? And it's by one of my newly found publishers, Salt Publishing, that I really like. Excuse my video presence again today, it's on my mobile phone, but my knees and my back are playing me up in this heat, so I've had to sit on the sofa rather than in my usual spot. The next book I have is Deborah Levy's Hot Milk. Now again, I've seen this on a few channels. I believe Eleanor at Eleanor Reads Books has shown this. I think Mercy from Mercy's Bookish Musings has shown this. And I think Simon at Savage Reads. This was recommended to me, funnily enough, by the chap that I was chatting to in Waterstones in Cambridge. I have to say I was extremely impressed with Waterstones in Cambridge. They weren't the kind of store where they had lurking salespeople, but they had true bookie sales representatives who loved books, and they really helped me find a couple of extra books while I was sort of chatting to them and showing them what I'd chosen, and then they recommended some to me, and this was one of them, and it's quite a slight novel, so I think I might try and take that on my holidays, which are coming up, but there will be a video of my holiday book haul, because that may change. The second from last book is Orphan X by Greg Hurwitz. Now again, this was recommended to me by the chaps in Waterstones, and this is a thriller. I believe this is a boy that's been taken from an orphanage basically and put into a top secret program and sent to do things that the government then denies. It sounds a bit like the Bourne series, and it sounds like it could be quite good fun. So I picked that up. Can't beat a good thriller. And last but not least, the doozy of them all. Now, most of you that have been watching my channel quite a lot recently will know that I've recently finished War and Peace. And I loved War and Peace. I absolutely loved every minute of the experience. The reading of it, the story of it, the history of it, and also doing my first ever buddy read with Victoria. So one of the other ones that Victoria from Eve's Alexandra and I are planning on doing is the reading of the actual story of Les Mis by Victor Hugo. So I went out and bought myself The Chunkster Mark II, which is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Now, this is the vintage edition. I believe that Victoria is going to be reading from the Penguin edition, apart from them being slightly different translations. From what I could understand when I was doing a like-for-like comparison in the store, there didn't seem to be a great deal of difference. I just love that little Eponine, no, not Eponine, it's not Eponine, it's Claudette, isn't it, there, with her brush. So I went for this edition. So yeah, that's due to come up later in the year though, because that's quite a large one, and we've set, sorry about that, and we've set ourselves quite a large challenge, which is coming up in July, and we will be doing an announcement video shortly. Sorry for the moving around, that's because the dogs have just suddenly decided that I'm on the sofa and they're going to jump all over me. I hope you're all well, BookTube. I hope you've enjoyed the lovely weather. It's still going to stay with us in the UK, I think, for a bit longer, although maybe not quite as scorching as it has been. If you've got any questions or you'd like to chat, please feel free in the comments down below. I really love people commenting and chatting to me. It would be lovely to have a chat. Let me know what you've been up to, what you've been reading, if you've read any of what I've posted today, and what you think I should focus on first. And I'll speak to you soon. Take care for now. Bye.